we are. So, welcome everybody to Visionary Parenting, where we are having powerful conversations with a variety of thought leaders, parenting experts, and parents who are taking the journey of empowering their children and themselves to live abundant, successful lives as defined by them. So, this series has been awesome so far. And today, my special guest is Zimasa Kala. Now, Zimasa Kala, now I'll get her to make sure that I'm pronouncing her name properly. She is a dynamic motorcycle riding mother of 2 daughters, coaching single working mothers in self-care and confidence, especially in the face of societal expectations. She has assisted several women to tap into their own resources in identifying and honoring their own values and aligning actions with intentions. Welcome, Zimasa. I am so looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much, Mel. Yes, you did pronounce my name correctly. It is Zimasa. It's a Xhosa name that means to honor, and I'm so honored to be here with you today. Thank you so much for inviting us.
That is fantastic. That's brilliant. So we met online in various different groups, and I could see the work that you was doing in working with mothers and the messages that you was putting out there. And I really wanted to just have a conversation with you just to see and find out more about your journey into this space and the impact of the work that you are doing. So perhaps you could just take us back to the beginning and tell us how you come about to be doing this empowered work.
Oh, absolutely, Mel. Actually, when I had my first daughter 18 years ago, that's when I started thinking, I want to work from home, to be around my daughter, to give her enough time to just bond together, to be there whenever she needed me. And at that stage, I was still married. And within a few years, that particular marriage had to come to an end. And that's when all the societal expectations came to the fore. Things that we live with within our societies that we don't necessarily think about until you're actually faced with them, such as, are you still a good person when you are a single mother? Are you still a good person when you are divorced? What is expected? What is not? And throughout that period, some of the reflections I had dated back to when I was about 12 years old, walking to a retail store with my own mother back then. And my mom exclaimed, well, she saw a pair of pants. And she exclaimed, wow, these look nice, I would love these. And being a child, I was very flippant in my response. I said, well, why can't you, Mom? And she said, but what did your father say? And up until I was going through my own divorce, I never realized that we had all these expectations as mothers, as women within our society that determine who we are, how we behave, etc. And, coming to that realization from when I was a teenager, having my own daughter, I started on this journey of trying to empower women in facing those societal expectations and just going for it. I'm not saying people should be rebellious, not at all. That's too much hard work. But to actually do what pleases you and finding your voice and your space and taking up your own space without necessarily doing any harm to anyone or anything out there. And by the way, back when I was 12, my mother did buy that pair of Saks because when she thought about what I said, it actually made sense to her. And she was never kicked out of the house. She was never beaten up. Nothing happened. And from that day on, she still wears Slacks. She's now about 71 years. Mm-hmm. And, that was an empowering moment for her without me realizing it. But when I look back, and I started applying some of these principles in my own life as a mom and a woman in my own society, I've also found my own space. And hence, I'm a biker chick as well. Something that is not generally done around this part of the world. And this is what I'd like to impart with other women out there, as well with my daughter as well, because I do have 2 daughters by now. And, allowing people to find their own strengths and take up the space.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you speak about societal expectations, now you're and you said you're part of the world. Now your part of the world is
South Africa.
Africa. Okay. And so in that, I'm going to ask, so would you say that those societal expectations are a cultural thing, or would you believe that those societal expectations are in different forms all around the world when it comes to women?
There are. There is a bit of cultural, which will be geographically based.
Mm-hmm.
Me, for instance, I did mention that I'm Xhosa, which mm-hmm. is an ethnic group within South Africa. So there are those societal expectations. How does a Xhosa woman carry herself? However, with the women that I've met across the world globally, each society would have certain expectations that they impose upon women across the world. Some of them are quite similar. One of those things that one might identify with is a patriarchal way of thinking, which seems to be quite global. And its intensity may change from region to region. So as women, mothers, this is what we're faced with. And while we're going through all of these things ourselves, we still have that duty of how do we teach our own children to behave going forward? How do we empower them to be strong, confident young ladies who are able to assert themselves responsibly, confidently, and safely as well?
Yeah. So there are different factors involved there, isn't it? So being able to do that safely, being that sometimes women in certain parts of the world, when they speak up for themselves. Now, I heard you say in reference to when your mum had that empowered moment to buy the slacks and nothing happened, you said she didn't get beat up, she didn't get something else there. And the fact that the words beat up came out, like that's an automatic assumption that, you know, that she may get beat. Now, that is something that is definitely societal issues, I would say.
Correct. And I use those words, but in particular, because this would be the worst case scenario. Mm-hmm. So what prevents us from doing whatever it is that we feel that we should not be doing? I mean, physical abuse would be one of the most extreme form of punishment that would be meted out against it, because we are considered to be physically weaker. And for my mom to have gone through such an experience of doing something that was not expected of her. Now, remember, I'm saying I was 12, meaning that from when my mother got married before I was born up until that particular day, she had never even dared to even think of it and never done. And now being 20, she now her options are wider in terms of her wardrobe, or what her wardrobe looks like. So her options are now wider, but you know, she was not even a thought up until that moment, because of fear of what would your father say, what would my in-laws say, and how would my society perceive me, possibly as a loose woman, if no, so there's always some form of repercussions. Now, the interesting thing with societal expectations is that no one says what is expected of you. You just know, because it's something that is just ingrained in you. So it's a social conditioning. You just grow up we come to accept it as being normal until it is questioned. But now, hence I also added safely when it comes to raising our kids, that you also don't want to step so far out that you put yourself at risk, because that risk may lead to death in certain societies. So you want to boundaries safely and enjoy life.
And see, this is what I find really interesting and really empowering about your work, because as you say that, you know, sometimes when young ladies speak up or step out or really embrace what it is that they want to do, it can be unsafe, and it can end in death for them in some places, especially in some regions where they have like the honor killings, where you brought shame on the family in stepping out from what's expected of you and things like that. So how do you manage that? How do you empower the children and the women to be authentically themselves, to embrace that creativity that's within them that they want to do, and like you say, be safe?
Yes. So one of the first things to consider is, what are the limits? What are the possibilities? What structures around you, your immediate support structures that are there to assist you? Because knowledge is always power. So once you find a specific support structure that aligns with your own visions, it's easier to tap into them, because the likelihood is that that particular structure would have the lending and to give you the right pointers. So an enabling community is almost at the, your wings that help you fly and soar. We don't want to exist on our own, as well to encourage the sharing, the support, accountability. Just a sharing of resources mostly, because sometimes all you need is just that one person to unlock something, and then your creative juices might start flowing in the right direction. If which is very seldom, one may even have to leave the region. I mean, it's an option now. We live in a global world. You and I are in different countries right now. We speak in the same language. So if I were to pop over, in your neck of the woods, it's easier for the two of us to hook up and have coffee, because now we've met. Now we're part of the same community. So the options are there. We're no longer in little villages that are isolated from each other. So that link community is almost very important, always very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said there that knowledge is power. And I believe that knowledge is power when put into action. Yeah. So we can have all the knowledge, but it's no power to us if we don't do something with it, if we don't put it into action. That's the only time that knowledge is really power, when we put it into action. So you are teaching and showing all of these women how to take effective action and put it into action. Basically, you're sharing that knowledge and showing them how to put it into action for themselves, to empower them step by step in that process. Yeah.
Correct. When you go back to, you want to do A, but then you feel that it's not right because it's not socially acceptable. I did mention earlier on that we have to, we have to explore. So what's the worst thing that could happen? If the worst thing that say is just people are going to start gossiping about you, then it's easier to take that action. Then it's such a non-matter. We find you the right community that you can immerse yourself in, but then you can pursue your goals safely around people who understand where you're coming from, who understand and encourage your vision, whilst you're still flying solo within that same community. Because remember, you and I are not going to have the exact same vision in any event. You did mention in my intro that I bike as well, and I do. And at first, I actually biked with a club, until I found out there was just way too much testosterone for me to handle, and they couldn't handle it. But then, by that time, I figured out what kind of bike I was interested in, which routes, how bikers normally pack, etc. So already I had enough information to go ahead and actually make a purchase and do this thing on my own. So this is where community, so when we say community, we're not saying stick with them forever, just to get started, just to get the knowledge so that you can take the right action. So I'm right with you there in terms of action. And boy, oh boy, I enjoy that wind therapy.
Brilliant. So tell me though, what's the process that you do when somebody first comes to you and says, okay, I need help? What do you do?
Oh, we'd normally have a nice leisurely chat about what you think you need help with and why you think this is important to you. Let's get and then we work out what has stopped you before from going for it.
Yeah.
So you've identified, sometimes people are actually stuck. Sometimes people don't even know what it is that they're looking for, but they have this of not being whole or not being fulfilled 100%. Then we have to identify that. We go through your past a little bit. So what's been happening, what's going on in the present, what do you wish for the future, where do you see yourself? But I'm not going to vision boards because I find them a little bit out there and not too tangible. So we just bring it home a little bit. The why would you like to have this? What would it mean for you? And then we explore ways of getting there together. We're going to put together a program over a 6-week period that these are some of the milestones that we need to reach together. So there's that up, going back and forth. And then you'd have certain tasks that you want to accomplish on your own, and then we take it from there. It is not labor intensive. It is not impossible to do, because a lot of what stops us from going from it is actually more in our heads rather than actually being tangible. And same with my mother, she had thought of whatever my father may or may not have would do, but then when it came of it, none of those fears were realized. And this manifested over and over within a lot of people over different situations. Fear is real. Fear is so robbing us of our dreams a lot of the time. And we oftentimes feel that no one else understands until we start taking that first step, and then we see that the doors fly open, and then we see some progress. It's just that we need that. So I provide that community for my clients as well. That community understanding, ability, hand holding while moving forward.
Nice. Say that again. Repeat that again so that the audience can hear you say that.
Well, that we're going through the process together.
That last bit. It was like hand holding whilst moving forward.
Yeah. So we're hand holding, moving forward together without being stuck until our goal.
Yes.
So a lot of the things that we establish is actually establishing habits towards. But bearing in mind why we're doing what we do, which is very important. Because I can't make you do what I want. Yeah. And this is where the society, for me, has been blocking a lot of women from attaining things. So we still do, in terms of society, we might still do all the right things, but then we're left unfulfilled because we're not doing what we want, we're doing what is expected of us. Hence, it's very important for us to identify what the one individual person wants and why they want that. Then it gives more meaning for the individual, instead of being that, you know what, now it's time you stop wearing dresses, now you need to start wearing shorts.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. In what you just said there as well, you said fear is real. And to me, go ahead.
Yes, it is real. And I find it almost insulting when people try to dismiss it. Because any emotion, as women, a lot of us are quite emotional beings. We think, I think first with my heart before I think with my head. And I feel, therefore I am. So you feel fearful, and someone else dismisses that because they don't see the fear that I feel, then it almost dismisses who I am. It means it inflates the person. So we need to acknowledge that fear without letting it stop us from moving forward. So we still need to acknowledge, it's real. People get shakes from fear. People lose their appetites from fear. People faint from fear. People have a whole lot of other reactions from fear. So we cannot just dismiss it and say it's not there, or put all these other acronyms. I've heard fear being false
evidence appearing real.
Exactly, that's all mental, it's not emotional, but then the person's still feeling very fearful. So we still need to accept that, and move through what makes the situation fearful.
And that's the thing, though. Fear is a thought and feeling process, not necessarily. See, in my mind, and I totally understand what you say about not dismissing what fear is. But in my mind, fear is a thought and feeling process. Yes, you absolutely do have a physical reaction to fear. You can, and so therefore it's a psychological response, not necessarily that it's real, but we feel it real. Do you get what I mean? We feel it in that way, but not necessarily what we're imagining or what we're fearful about is real or going to come true, but we're experiencing it in our body. Because I don't particularly like to affirm that fear is real, because when we say fear is real, it's like affirming it. But in actual fact, we do feel it. It is a thought and feeling. We do have a physical response. And if we can change, I think the part of being able to face our fears and do it anyway is changing our perception of what that fear is. So having that perception of, okay, this is not real. Yes, I am feeling it. I'm having a physical response to it, but I know that what I'm fearful about is not real. I'm imagining this. This has not come to pass. And if I continue in this way, that I'm more likely to bring it to pass because I'm attracting all of this. My energy and vibration is in that space. But it's like, okay, what can I do to release this fearful feeling within me? What can I do to shift that energy that's running through me?
I hear you, Mel. That makes absolute sense. Hence I said, we move forward in spite, through the fear, and we work together. Now, if take a very simplistic example, a young child who's fearful of the boogeyman or some monster under the bed. In their mind, it's real. They probably can even hear the house settling noises and allocate that to the little boogeyman under the bed. But not unless we actually switch on the lights, the action, will they realize that actually the fear was unfounded. It might actually take a lot of time as well. It's not going to happen over one night. It might take a series of events and a series of actions for them to actually be convinced that what they were fearful of does not exist.
Right. So it's not real. So it's not real. So then they get to see over time that it's their imagination running wild with them.
Exactly. So that was a very simplistic one with a little child. So what I may imagine as an adult is not going to be the boogeyman. It's going to be a more complex fear, which will need exactly the same type of steps in order to dispel. So we still move together in a coaching environment to dispel those fears. We're not going to say, no, what you're thinking of or what you're feeling doesn't exist. Let's just run, because now we connected completely from the individual. So by steps, almost like proving the opposite of what was being feared. And then for the person to gain enough trust in themselves, enough trust to question on their own their fears as and when they pop up in future. With environment, we're trying to impart with ways of dealing with things for future purposes. We don't want to be coaching forever, one person, create a dependency relationship. So you're teaching skills, you're imparting with skills. So in future, the person, different situation, might then question these things as they're coming in. Is this real or is it not?
And be able to have skills to decipher it and break it down.
But now also being able to look back at other fears that they had and going, Well, that other one, fear A, also seemed quite scary back then, and it did not materialize. It did not turn out as badly as I thought before. So you're encouraging the person to build trust in themselves, in their own decision making, in them being able to take the next step on their own.
Yeah. That makes sense. Absolutely. Okay. So, again, speaking about the fears, when you are dealing with the societal expectations, that varies from place to place, right? Yeah. So again, is that same process? Is it the same process of working out how they can break those societal fears or those societal issues that are getting in their way?
Very similar, Mel, very similar. Because again, society, there's no rule book with society. It's only when you're stepping out of line, then you get the backlash, and then people start talking, you start being isolated, etc., etc. But now those same societal expectations can sometimes tend to put one on a pedestal. I've got an 18-year-old daughter. My plan in my house was that at age 16, she should learn to ride a motorcycle, a scooter, and she did. The intention was for her to be able to ride herself to ballets, lessons, and back, so that, number one, we're creating a self of independence, and to free my time as well, because I can't have all my time being taken up by kids. Just because I'm a mom and I love them to bits, I can't be like a headless chicken 24/7. So there was a sense of letting her go slowly. At 17, she could get her learner's permit to drive a motor vehicle. At 18, get a final driver's license, and she did all of these things. By the time she was 18, driving herself to school, she was in a final year of high school. Now, she was met with a lot of resistance from our traffic departments because, are you sure? Because she's a girl.
Really? That's the society issues, right?
That's what I'm talking about. Things that I think that are so normal.
Yes, that's very normal.
Eventually, it's a life skill that you need to be able to drive. You're going to have a job someday, But then just still frowned upon. She was questioned so many times by traffic officers trying to book herself a license. She was almost revered at school by other girls because, wow, only boys drive at this age at 18, and here you are, girl. And it comes with some haters as well, because now you think that you're better than us. So, when we're talking about societal expectations, it's not always the far extreme in terms of you doing something absolutely negative and bad, but common progression of life. Boys sometimes expected, and it's accepted for them to do certain things, but
yeah, that's just doing something normal. That's what we would call normal. Like driving, whether it's a car or a motorbike or a scooter or anything. My daughter, she got her driving license at the age of 17 and was driving her car. I bought her car for her 18th birthday, and that was her celebration. So she did that, and she was driving, and I think she's 21 now. And but yet, like in America, the kids get their driving license from the age 16, which I think is incredibly young, to be honest, to have that kind of power, that kind of power behind those huge vehicles at 16 is a lot for me in my mind. But that's what they do in America for ages. So to think that in South Africa your daughter was frowned upon to get a license, but then, like you said, this is the societal issues that happen in different regions around the world, and girls and women are expected to be and do different, or I even want to say less than things than the boys.
It definitely is less than. It definitely is less than. And here we are. And the strangest thing, Mel, is that when a young person goes through to an interview, the panel will most likely be looking for someone with fresh ideas, be innovative, and. Yet the society prefers you to be boxed in.
Yeah.
Because as soon as the tentacles reach over the four corners that we have created for you, you're making us nervous. We don't know how to respond to you. We don't know what else to expect from you. Instead of being excited that you're gonna open our eyes to new possibilities that we never thought of.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, society there wants to keep our children or our females in boxes, like you say, and not to step out of those boxes. And that's a form of control. It's a form of control, and that's society control, trying to keep you in place. And yet it doesn't acknowledge. I mean, when we just look back through history and we look at the wonderful things that women have accomplished, have achieved, have invented, have done. I mean, women are amazing. They're amazing. So why would, we are the birthplace of a nation. Everything comes through us. Even these men, these patriarchal men that want to put limits and things on us, they came through us, and stuff. So why they want to keep us down, less than, and so forth. And it's a fear that, if we were empowered, that, we would become a matriarchal society, that we will become, that the women will, because at the end of the day, we are the healers. We are bringing it back. We pick up after these guys that, when they make a mess of all that's happening, it is us that kind of heals. We heal the family, and it starts from the family. It starts in the home. So when we start healing from in there, it spreads out, and, and these guys get healed, Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
I agree with you. It is fear, but it's also, as we were saying earlier on, that sometimes fear is very much unfounded. Mm-hmm. If you look at typical women's disposition, we do not hurt. We share with our families. So a mom that brings home the loaf of bread is going to break off little pieces and make sure that everyone is fed. She might not even have a piece for herself. Unlike with some days, I'm not going to say all of them, it's a question of, I have won as a man, and I deserve the lion's share type of mentality. And I think sometimes the men in our societies fear that we're going to behave the same way that they would behave if they were in power. But then we don't behave like that. And I think this is why they may think that we need to be controlled, subdued, and put into our little boxes.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, women share, and women will always look after the family and ensure that everyone is taken care of. We are oftentimes self-sacrificing, which is why we need to be mindful of taking care of ourselves. Men have a problem with that. A man feeling stressed out will probably walk out of the house to walk it off. And regroup. And that's whereas us, we'd be worrying about whether or not the supper has been cooked, are the shoes polished, are the babies washed up, that sort of thing, even though we may not be feeling too okay in the moment. So it's definitely fear that we have so many patriarchal societies, and that fear is very much unfounded. Women are just not designed to be dominant in an oppressive sort of way, generally speaking.
And I think that, there's a saying in Jamaica, which is, we broke them bad. We broke them bad, meaning that we started off in a bad way with them. We've broken them into bad habits already. And the meaning that the reason I'm saying this is that there is, like, I remember it, as a mother, when we cook the foods in the family home, So as a mother, when we cook the food, the first person we're feeding, we're plating up, is the father, and then the children. And I actually think that shouldn't be the case. You know, I actually think that we should be feeding our children first. And then, you know, he shouldn't be first in line when there is a famine. And this is how we get to shift that sense of importance, that sense of, you know, I'm the don in this household and that I get the lion's share of what's going on. And that's not taken away from his manlyhood or anything like that. That's him supporting the raising of his children. That's him showing that his children are important, that they come first, then us, then me and you. Do you see what I mean? And I think that we can begin those subtle changes in the home by doing something like that, by not breaking them bad, you know, by you know, little subtle changes can plant that seed.
I get that so much. I remember, you actually remind me of a time when my oldest daughter was a couple of months old, and my then ex-husband's family home, they had a traditional work, and we had to sleep on the mattresses on the floor. But then the traditional thing to do is that when you guys wake up as women, you go and serve the elders first. Me and my baby, that was not going to happen. I fed my child. But back to your point that we still need to enforce or entrench those family values, and as well as respect. I think sometimes everything boils down to respect as well. That everyone is equally respected. Roles within the family unit. But everyone is important. There's no more than or less than. I would also tend to feed the babies first because they don't have the right way of thinking, of appreciating that they have to wait. If they're hungry, they are hungry, you know, get that one away, and then you can carry on with the rest of whatever it is that needs to be done. So it's not about taking away from the men and making them less of a man than they are. We appreciate our societies. They definitely do have a role to play, a very important role for that matter. And it's just about acknowledging everyone's importance, which is different. Again, when we talk about equality, it's not about us competing and trying to do exactly what the other person is doing or in the manner that the other person is doing it, but rather acknowledging that we all as a society are equally important and are contributing towards the society at various levels. Kids contribute. They've got a role to play in our societies. Adults, you know, when it comes to different genders, you know, everyone has got value that they're adding into this nice part of our communities and who we are and how we behave going forward safely.
Safely. And that's the key here when talking about dealing with societal expectations and constructs, that it has to be done safely. We have to bear in mind your environment and but not let, and as you say, it's finding that balance of not letting your environment dictate who or what you can become, but also just finding that safe way of navigating through it. And like you say, if need be, you move regions and relocate or something along those lines. And I know that's not as easy, but when we're talking about designing and creating the life that we want to lead, then, you know, sometimes we have to take those massive actions to get the result that we want, that we desire. So
Okay, occasionally you don't even have to move, you don't even have to move from one country to another. In South Africa, for instance, we've got our rural areas, our townships, our urban areas. So we've got 3 different, very distinct areas within South Africa that you can move in between without even leaving the country. So if I'm tired of being Zimasa in Port Elizabeth, I could move to East London and become Tena. Who's gonna say I'm not? You know, and recreate myself, redesign myself into the person that I feel I want to be and live the life that I want. But now in a community that's going to accept or be more tolerant to my habits. One of my favorite taglines from Inoxa was, first, do no harm. So if whatever you do is not harmful to anyone or anything, the question is, why not?
Yes, absolutely. Why not?
Why not?
Why not? Yeah, that's a great question. Why not? Brilliant. So tell me, what's your vision? What's your overall vision for all this work that you're doing?
Oh, Mel, with everything that I've gone through already, I don't see why any other woman should have to suffer alone, number one, going through difficult situations. Theirs may not be the same as mine, but we should all have a helping end or a lifeline out there somewhere. That lifeline should move every single woman to the next step, just one step.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Out of quagmire you might find yourself in, that everyone should be brave enough to move forward. It is very heartbreaking when we read about gender-based violence, people trapped in a whole lot of circumstances where they know they don't belong. You know, it's one thing when a person is not aware of better.
Mm-hmm.
More heartbreaking when you know that there is better out there and you want that, but you're unable to get there because you don't know how. So my vision is for people to be able to move forward in whichever that they wish, and be more productive.
Brilliant.
A happy makes a happy home in every household without fail.
Yes, lovely, lovely. So that's an awesome vision. That's empowering. That's like, as you said, this is called, this episode is called Rising Together No Matter What. So this is a journey of where we rise together. We shine brightly together. We support each other. You know, one rising tide raises all ships, or something like that. I think the saying is something like that. So in coming together and in rising together, no matter what, we're supporting one another and we're doing what's needed to kind of break some of those societal issues that different women are facing around the world, to give them some strategies and skills and tools to help them to be able to move forward and start creating the life that it is that they want to live. And I think that is awesome, because in empowering themselves to do that, they as you say, empower their children to do the same, to lead by example. That is fantastic.
That is correct. And I actually love the rising together, because it's not about one person rising or one society rising. You know, us women together, our whether it's you and your family together, you know, that togetherness, that community is something that I really, want to emphasize. And interestingly, I'm listening to you sharing some of your Jamaican history, and I'm thinking, I resonate with some of these things. And this is another thing, about the community, that oftentimes when we're going through whatever it is that we're going through, we feel so alone, which increases the But when we get in touch with other people who share similar stories, then we know some of these things are actually normal per our age. It's something that happens when you hit 40 or when you hit 30 or whatever the case may be. Then you feel that this is just a normal progression of life. Or there are other people who actually went through something similar and they survived, or maybe they're even thriving. So this whole togetherness, rising together, is in that spirit. The share, knowing that you're alone, knowing that you can get in touch with people, you can get tips. You can actually help someone else as well, because we do get a lot of satisfaction when we are able to reach out and help someone. It's something that just feeds the soul, that we are actually connected, and this is very close to my heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our own, but for us to help the next person.
Yeah, and that's it. When we connect with others and we help, and we see the growth and we see the transformation, it's awesome, isn't it? It's just, I just love it. I love witnessing the transformation of parents and children, that are empowering themselves and their mindset, and they're just, doing all that they can to try and be the best version of themselves, and it doesn't always look perfect, but that's not the point. The point is, enjoying the journey of discovering oneself and, taking the steps to be that best version. And, the learning happens in the journey, the growth happens in the journey, life happens in the journey. And that's what's awesome about it, is when you see them doing the work and doing the journey, having, taking that walk on that journey and seeing that transformation. I just love it. I love it. And that's why I love sharing this message about transforming a generation and bringing all of you guys onto this platform to talk about this journey that we are all on, and that is transforming a generation in different parts of the world in our different ways of doing it. But it's all doing the same thing, which is empowering the mindset of our parents and our children. And I just love it.
It's beautiful to witness. It's absolutely beautiful to witness. And, everyone learns. Even the coach in the process, we all learn continuously. It's absolutely beautiful to witness.
Yeah, I think so. I absolutely think so. So, Zimasa, how can people get in touch with you if they want to, connect with you and possibly look at your work and do some work with you? How can they get in touch?
All right. Let's see. I think the easiest would be my email address, Zimasa K. So it's my full first name with the first initial of my surname, Zimasa K, at yahoo.com.
At yahoo.com.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
I am also on.
I will drop that in the chat afterwards. I'm not great at multitasking when it comes to that and staying talking. So I would drop that in the chat under the live video afterwards. And yeah, and put that in. And then also, what else did you say?
So a person can just drop me a message there. I do have a page in my personal name. On message, just pop me a little write up and I'll respond. I normally respond within 24 hours and I don't want to wait too long.
Yeah.
We never know what people are going through and how urgent their matters are. So there's the email. We also have Messenger on Facebook. I want to give out the phone number now because it's going to be too much work to try and remember all these other things. But definitely on Facebook and on that email, I'm reachable.
Okay, fantastic. So like I said, I will drop those links in the chat afterwards. But also you'll be tagged in this video. So just follow Zimasa's tag and it will take you to her page. And then I believe, like she said, there is a link on her page to her group, and then you can take it from there. So that is going to be fantastic. Yes. So that's how you get in. So that is brilliant. Zimasa, I really, really appreciate your time and your energy in taking the time to come and speak to us and share with us all the work that you're doing. It is fantastic. I think tackling societal issues, really trying to empower our women and our children's mindset in these difficult areas. And I call them difficult areas just in terms of allowing a woman to be all that she possibly could be without, men saying no, it's that kind of thing. So I think that in itself is an amazing work right there, So I appreciate you and I appreciate all that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
That has been brilliant. So guys, to finish up, as I say, as parents, we are our children's first and continuous teachers, and we must recognize the impact that we have on our children's beliefs about themselves, about others, and about the world around them. And this is both positively and negatively. So let's be the positive and show our children how to be the best versions of themselves by us being the best version of us as parents. You know, visionary parenting is here to help you do exactly that. So do reach out if you need support to connect with either of the guests of Visionary Parenting. We're more than happy to help you on this journey of transformation. It has been absolutely awesome speaking with you, Zimasa. Do you have any finishing words before we close out?
Yeah, ladies, remember our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate, but that we are powerful beyond measure.
I love that. I absolutely love that. That is, you know, that is a powerful, powerful statement. And yeah, that's right. That's right. Embrace that, people. Embrace it. We are powerful beyond measure. Okay, so just to let you know, tune in again in 2 weeks' time for my next guest, which will again be an awesome conversation, and I will reveal to you who that guest is in the coming days. Now, I have one more announcement to give you. So I am so pleased to announce that MAM is now sponsoring Visionary Parenting online series in Transforming a Generation. Marvelous Minds Academic Mentoring provides holistic education. Now, this includes tutoring and mentoring, focusing on all aspects of your child's learning journey through confidence building, improving self-esteem and self-belief, sowing the seeds of success within them. Investing in the whole child allows all children to achieve their full potential and embark on a journey to discover their genius. MAM has a team of over 25 years experience within education, providing online holistic learning to the family. The team gives opportunity for positive collaborative learning engagement between parents and their children. Now, Marvelous Minds Academic Mentoring will equip your child from early years to Key Stage 4 with the skills to be confident, motivated, self-disciplined, independent, resilient, and an inquisitive learner for future success. Our Mindset Mentoring Program will help them create a vision for their success, secure in the knowledge of who they are and what they are capable of when they believe in themselves and the power within them. So to get your child started with Marvelous Minds Academic Mentoring, contact Marcia Anderson Mackenzie on email her at learnivwaves@gmail.com. This is absolutely fantastic. So in our next episode, you will see MAM's logo up on there as an official sponsor of Visionary Parenting, because they are very much, as you heard, very much about transforming a generation. And that's what we want. We want to work with people that are all about transforming parents, children, and that generation to live abundant and successful lives. So I am so excited to announce this amazing sponsorship by MAM, which is Marvelous Minds Academic Mentoring. Woohoo, that's fantastic. All right. Zimasa, thank you once again. Thank you so, so much. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. And, you know, I look forward to when we get the chance to speak again and to go through even more of the work that you are doing. So thank you. I fully, fully appreciate your time, your energy, your wisdom and insights.
Thank you for having me, Mel.
Be blessed, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening or day, whatever time it is, and make sure you tune in 2 weeks' time for the next episode in this fantastic series. Be blessed. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.